There's a certain kind of compliment that doesn't sound like praise. It slips past the ego like smoke, settles into the bloodstream like a drug. You've said it before, maybe once, by accident, and something in her eyes flickered. She leaned in. Her breath slowed, and for a moment, the air thickened with a strange silence, as if she had just tasted something forbidden. You didn't know why it worked. You only knew that it did. But then, you stopped saying it. Something in you buried it. A quiet shame, like you'd seen too much. Because we don't talk about this. We don't talk about the kind of compliment that doesn't deflatter her beauty. It destabilizes it. When you stop trying to be a man she approves of and become the man her body obeys, that doesn't reassure her. It unmasks her. That doesn't place her on a pedestal. It cracks it in half. You stop asking for permission. You say things that seem wrong, but they're not. They're precise. They strike the part of her no man dares speak to, the ancient part, the wild part, the unspoken animal beneath her curated femininity. The compliments that make women fall out of control aren't soft. They are not gentle. They don't feel like romance. They feel like exposure. Not because they can tea, but because they re-terrified of what it demands from them. Not against her. Against you. They require you to see her fully, without needing her to like you afterward. They require you to drop the performance and walk barefoot into the archetypal storm, where woman is not goddess or whore, but mirror. She melts under it. A clever arrangement of words designed to lower her defenses, when the real key was never to lower them, but to bypass them entirely. For a man who doesn't just notice her, but understands her, even before she opens her mouth. Why she dismisses the sweet guys and loses herself over the one who says almost nothing. But when he does, it's like being struck by lightning. And deep down, you already knew that. You've always known it. But because you saw something in her that she thought no man could see, and then you named it. The problem is not that you don't know what women want. It's that you do, and it frightens you. Because what happens when you finally stop playing the role? You start to see her differently, and she can feel it. Not because you complimented her makeup. Not because you remembered her favorite drink. There's a reason most men will never taste that power. These compliments, the real ones, the forbidden ones, require a kind of emotional violence. Most men compliment to be accepted. Few ever compliment to reveal. Because to truly compliment a woman, not the way society taught you, but the way the unconscious demands, is to speak to what she hides, not what she flaunts. And if that doesn't scare you a little, then you're not close enough to the truth. What we call a compliment today is often nothing more than sanitized validation, engineered weakness wearing the mask of charm. Women aren't starving for more compliments. They're starving for revelation. Have you ever wondered why the men she obsesses over rarely praise her the way you do? It's because he sees through the surface. His attention isn't spread across her makeup or her style. It drills into her essence. He says something simple, maybe even crude, but it collapses her defenses because it touches the truth of her, the truth beneath the girl. And she doesn't just want it. She aches for it. But here's the tragedy. Most men think this kind of insight comes from being clever, or studying pickup, or decoding female psychology like a puzzle. It doesn't. From the unbearable silence of your own rejection, your own lust, your own failure, until you stop needing to win and start needing to see. It comes from stillness, from watching. You compliment differently after that. It's not strategy anymore. It's instinct. And she feels the difference. One makes her smile. The other makes her submit. Not your teachers, not your mother, not the dating coaches who want you to repeat the same tired scripts. They'll tell you to be confident, to be kind, to be high value. But they'll never tell you the truth. But of course, no one will teach you this. That what makes a woman obsess over your words isn't how they flatter. It's how they expose her. And you know what's worse? She wants you to. Not the needy one, not the performer, not the boy trying to win her approval, but the man who sees past the act and touches the real. You want to be ruined, don't you? She wants to be exposed by the right man. Because inside every woman is a chaos, and inside that chaos is an unbearable craving to be understood, not through logic, but through dominion. This is the kind of compliment that melts her. Not, "You're beautiful." Not, "You're so smart." Not, "You're amazing." But, "I know what you're doing. You pretend you're in control, but I see the little girl behind your games." That's not flirtation. That's revelation. And it's not for everyone. It's not safe. It will shake something in her. It will scare something in you. But it's real. And in a world addicted to fakeness, the real is the most dangerous aphrodisiac there is. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." But what he didn't to say, at least not directly, is that this is also how she chooses her men, not consciously, not logically, but through a hidden ancient rhythm that no Tinder bio can override. It brushes against the edge of her archetype, the inner Eve, the Lilith, the Persephone, and that tremor becomes craving. Her desire is not a choice. It's a signal, a trembling deep within the psyche, awakened only when a man brushes against something older than words. That's what the forbidden's compliment does. It doesn't praise the woman. It activates her. You've slipped past her layers, her projections, her socially trained defense system, and spoken directly to her animos fear, that beneath all her power, she's still a girl waiting to be claimed. The part that has looked rejection in the eye and refused to flinch. The part that doesn't want her approval. It wants her soul. Not because they don't believe it, but because their eyes betray them. They're still seeking approval. Still scared of being rejected. Still trying to earn a reaction. But to speak to her archetype, you must confront your own. Something that goes back to her great-grandmothers, and their great-grandmothers, before feminism, before modernity, before civilization taught her to hide the very part of her that wants to be seen and surrendered. You must descend into your shadow, the rejected parts of your masculinity, the instincts you were taught to bury, the rage, the lust, the cold truth you were told would make you toxic, brutally simple, not poetic, not clever, just real. And now she's split, caught between the woman she's supposed to be and the woman she actually is. These forbidden's compliments, they live down there. They don't come from the mind. They come from the part of you that has nothing to prove. When Dionysus entered the scene, the world flipped. Rules broke. The civilized woman lost herself in the forest. The respectable mask fell away. And what was left was the raw, howling truth. You see, when a man tells a woman, "I see how hard you try to stay in control," she feels naked. Not physically, psychically, but most men can't say that. And women feel that. They always feel that. The compliment that causes her to melt. S&T about your vocabulary. It S about your state of being. The words don't matter if your energy is still kneeling. That's why the most dangerous compliments are simple. You're pretending to be cold, but I know you're starving for someone to take control. She hears that not just in the ears, but in the womb. It triggers something mythic. But this is where the tension becomes unbearable. Because this kind of compliment offends her mind while seducing her body. It contradicts her persona, but awakens her soul. And that's where your power lives, in the split. In mythology, this was the domain of Dionysus, god of ecstasy, madness, and the tearing apart of masks. That's what the forbidden compliment does. It is Dionysian. It doesn't make her feel better. It makes her feel real. But here's the catch. If you've never walked through your own chaos, you won't be able to guide hers. If you're afraid of your own hunger, your own demons, your own unworthiness, then you'll flinch the moment she tests you. and she will test you. Because no woman gives up control without first seeing if you can hold it. This is why the compliment only works when it's not a technique. The forbidden's compliment is not a phrase. It is a mirror. You speak it only when you've stopped asking her to fill the hole inside you. Only when you've faced your father's absence, your mother's praise, the years of silent rejection and clickbait masculinity that left you soft and starving. You can't fake gravitas. You can to imitate the voice of the man who has died and come back with fire in his chest. And that's the essence of it. It's initiation. Every man must pass through that fire. And on the other side? From a presence that doesn't blink when she cries, screams, flirts, withdraws, because you've already seen it all. Inside yourself. You no longer speak compliments to win her. You speak them because you see her, and you no longer need to look away. You can see the mask and the girl behind it. You can see the pride and the ache beneath it. You want to lose yourself in someone strong enough to handle your chaos. You can see the independence and the craving to be led, not of you personally, but of something older than you, something in you, a masculine force that cannot be domesticated, only respected or surrendered to, not dominated, not controlled. LED, and that kind of leadership, the one that makes a woman voluntarily surrender, is born not from ego, but from depth. That is the masculine core. That is the unshakable center. That is what makes your compliment cut her open in silence. You're dangerous when you pretend you don't care. You're not cold. You're just scared that no man's ever truly seen you. You don't want a partner. That last one? It terrifies her because it's true. And the moment she hears it, you'll see it in her eyes. The flash of ancient recognition. But you don't say these things because they work. You say them because they resonate. And that is the final secret. A woman will give her body to many. She will give her heart to a few. But she will only give her soul to the man who sees her and says it out loud. You thought it was about words. But now, maybe, you understand it never was. The words are just symbols. Vessels for something deeper. They're like a key, yes, but the lock isn't her heart, her mind, or even her desire. The lock is ancient. It's buried in the bone memory of what woman used to respond to, before language tamed her, before shame shackled her impulses. What opens her is not charm, not strategy. It's truth. You cannot name her hunger unless you've wrestled with your own. That's why most men fail with women. Not because they're weak, not because they're ugly, not because they don't know what to say. But truth ... costs. You cannot speak the forbiddens unless you've lived close to it. It's because they don't have the eyes yet. The masculine eye, the unflinching observer, is forged through suffering, through exile, through the years of being invisible, resented, misunderstood, until one day that suffering stops breaking you and starts refining you. That's when she feels it, because suddenly your presence carries weight, not loud, not aggressive, just undeniable. And when you speak, even if it's one sentence, it hits her like gravity. That's what the forbidden's compliment is. It's gravity. It collapses the illusion of control, pulls her back into her body, and makes her feel herself through you. Is the one who speaks to what she is, before even she knows. That is why she craves the man who doesn't to seek her admiration. He commands it, without trying, without asking. Most men speak to what a woman shows. The rare few speak to what she hides. But the man who truly changes her, maybe you said something in passing, raw, unfiltered, half aware, and she melted. You felt it. You hide behind strength because no one ever protected you. You pretend you're not impressed. But you've been waiting for someone who dares to say this. You want to be praised, but only if it comes from someone who could destroy you. You say that, and it's not just words, it's prophecy. Because on some level, she knows it's true. She's always known. And what really haunts you isn't that this kind of power doesn't exist. That's why you praise her outer beauty, but never the storm behind it. That is why you keep pretending you not the kind of man who could make her submit, if only you stopped fearing your own reflection. It's that you've tasted it, briefly, accidentally, but then you second-guessed, you apologized. You buried it under humor or niceness, or the fear of being too much. And you never went back. You just need to witness her, truly, fully, with no need for return. That's what no one tells you. That's the fragmentation. That's where the modern man splits. Between the man who feels, who knows, who sees, and the man who performs. That fracture is why you can to look a woman in the eyes and say what you really see. Because you are dangerous. Not in the way they warned her about, but in the way no one ever warned you. You could be. The silent kind. The kind that doesn't threaten, but makes her drop the act. You don't need to dominate her. When a man stops needing a woman to validate him, his words stop orbiting her ego and start pulling her into truth. That's why the forbidden compliment is so powerful. It's not manipulation. It's mirror work. You're holding up her shadow, and shadows crave the light. Not the artificial light of flattery, but the flame. The masculine flame that burns away her mask and leaves only her essence. Do you understand now? The most erotic thing you can say to a woman is something no one else has dared say, not because it's rude, not because it's vulgar, but because it sees her and doesn't flinch. And once she feels that, she'll dream about you, not because of what you said, but because of what you saw. So here's the question, now that we've torn back the veil. When you look at her, can you stop performing long enough to speak the truth? Can you stop flattering her long enough to reveal her? Can you walk into the storm of her femininity without losing your center? Most men can't, but you're not most men. You're watching this because something inside you remembers. The part of you that's tired of pretending, tired of playing nice, tired of complimenting the mask and ignoring the soul. That part, feed it, let it grow, then speak, don't justify. Just say what you see, and when you do, don't explain, and let her deal with the truth of being seen. If this stirred something in you, not curiosity, but recognition, then stay with us. This space isn't for surface-level advice. It's for men reclaiming their vision. Subscribe if you're ready for more. Leave a comment if you've ever said something that made her freeze, not because she was offended, but because she was finally revealed. And if you've never felt that moment, you will the next time you stop needing her to like you and start needing her to remember you, in silence, in stillness, in surrender. Welcome to Erosos, where we don't teach you how to get women. We show you how to awaken what already knew how, long before you were ever told to forget.